Hi, I'm Tim Trafford, and I am the Activity Director at Glendale Gardens.
Hello, I am Keith Steenbergen, and I'm the Administrator at Glendale Gardens.
Well, I think a perfect environment for me starts with the staff. That a staff that is committed to working as a team, that puts the residents' needs first, and understand that to make the environment as home-like as possible, we need to work together. And without that, we're not going to have that perfect environment. I think it definitely starts with our staff, and that they need to know that what they do is important, what they do is valuable, that they are appreciated, and they know that the company supports them 100%. If you make your staff your most important resource, they will take care of your residents. There's just no doubt about it. So I think that's where it starts.
Yeah, I agree with that. And my thought is also, it's how you set it as a team, as a department team or your leadership team in determining what is your priorities and what you're setting. So to make the staff feel supported in what's going to happen, making sure that they understand that the expectations are that the resident needs come first, no matter what our situations are, and just realizing that we do value staff for who they are, residents who they are, and their personal lives, whatever that may be, and personal interests on both sides, and to know that we're wanting to develop and support it as much as we can. So the biggest thing when it comes to care planning for a resident, needing what a team approach is, everybody's opinion is valuable and everybody's opinion is unique. So if you have one person who's creating a care plan for a resident, even if they are interviewing the resident, their approach might not capture the full picture of somebody's life or what somebody's needs or best interests are. But when you do it as a team from each department, because everybody has their expertise and skills and their own perspective, it truly can give you a full life picture of a resident and be able to answer whatever their needs may be, but able to actually support them and broaden whatever their perspective or life or goals or whatever it may be if we approach it as a team.
Traditionally, years ago, that a resident was divided up, if you could use a pie as an example, and certain people took care of this problem and certain people took care of that problem. Well, I think that's a thing of the past. I think that it makes the resident the center of the issue, and it makes the approach more holistic. Is that don't think for a second that the man who cleans the floors or the person who does the laundry can't contribute to a need of that resident. It's evident every day at our building. So it really makes the continuity of that care specific to each resident. Being a small department, as most activities departments are, in the scope of nursing and dietary, for example, is that we cannot thrive and won't be successful unless other people in the building buy in and support us. And so in any relationship, you can't just take and not give. So as far as Glendale Gardens, Melody and I, we help with nursing needs. We help with dietary needs. If a resident has a need, we don't look at it as, well, this is not an activity issue, so we're not going to be involved. And that's, I believe, what makes us successful at Glendale Gardens, is that that's the way the staff look at it. The staff help us, we help them, and who wins in that scenario is the residents.
And I would also add, too, it's just to show leadership by example, I think, is a very big key of what happens in our building at Glendale Gardens. It doesn't matter what role you are or what department you work for. It doesn't matter if you're a supervisor or whatever you are. The expectation truly is, and it's more than just an expectation, it is lived out every day, of the helping each other out, of stepping in where you see a need for a resident. You want to do everything you can to make sure it's filled, no matter what it is. When it comes to activities as well, or just enrichment of life, having a very large variety of different things hits on, we all have our own desires, our own things we're interested in, and having a wide variety of options for people to do and participate in, and also opening that up to staff to participate in those events too. So whether you're having, it's a dart throwing day and you pull in employees with the residents and work in with them too, just to have fun, just to lighten it up. Or you have something that is out of the norm for the day, because we all get in our routines and traditions of what happens. But if you get to see something that's out of the norm and get other people to participate in with you, and you have a memory, you guys bond, and whether it's with the residents, you're bonding with the resident, other employees bonding with each other, just showing that we're all there for each other makes a huge difference in making teamwork occur and able to support that as either administrator or leading an activity department or whatever your role may be in the building, of continuing to bond and share those experiences.
And you had mentioned earlier too about it starts with the leadership team, and I know that the philosophy of the leadership team that we have is that we leverage our influence, our skill set, our abilities to help staff succeed. I know I don't look at it as I'm a department head, so I have leverage over you, but let me use my influence and my ability to help you succeed. And I think employees appreciate that. I know family members appreciate that, and when that's going on, the residents win.
Raising an expectation. What your goal for is really not looking for somebody who can just do a job. For our building especially, we need somebody who has a heart, and it's more of a calling to our industry. Taking care of people is a very hard job. So somebody who is willing to open themselves up a little bit, that's not there just for the task or just for the check or just for the time to punch in, punch out, and go home. We need people who actually have a heart for people and want to share that, and so having conversations with folks, and you can find out typically pretty quickly what their motivation is, and there's a certain mindset that we need to fit in our family at Glendale Gardens, into our team of having that heart that's willing to help people no matter what the situation is.
Two traits that you can't teach is compassion and empathy, because I consider Glendale Gardens to be a teaching facility, evidenced by having students in the building. There are some things you can teach about how we want things done and as it relates to doing a job, whatever that position may be. But I know that when I see new people, the two traits that will jump out at me is compassion and empathy. Can you put yourself in the shoes of the people that are living there and ask, if it were me, what would I want? And compassion is showing kindness and mercy and those type of things. If you have those two things, that translates really well into the type of employees that do well for us.
I think any training program, when it starts, is, again, as we mentioned earlier, just regarding value. If you bring value into it, and you're not just, because there's a lot of information to be given. Teaching skills to what our process are, what protocols are, if there's new information that comes out just from in the industry. But the main side of it is not just making it interesting, but making sure the value of what it is correlated to whoever you're trying to teach on an employee level or whoever it may be, so that they can actually find the value and know that it's going to be useful for them. So again, and also, no matter what you're trying to teach and trying to bring it back to that the residents' need and the residents' experience is truly the most important part of it. So we got to bring whatever new thing that we're trying to teach or learn, or skill set, or even process, protocol from the company, that we're correlating it and relating it in a way that we can show the best interest for the resident in how we're doing it.
And I think also helping people realize what a difference they can make, and help getting beyond whether it's shyness or lack of confidence in realizing I have so much more to offer to the workforce, to this particular building, than I was even aware. having opportunities to work in different departments. A great example is Melody, who's worked in this building for 20 plus years. It was the administrator that saw in her skills that he thought fit and matched activities really well. She never even thought of that, and look where that went. So I think that bringing out the best in people, and the other thing, this industry of working with seniors, you get to be so close to the customers that it doesn't matter your title. In fact, that's the least relevant of it all, is that you get to be so close to the customers that you can make a difference. You as an individual can make a difference. And that difference can be positive or negative. And I think that's where training comes in, is that we can teach them what to expect in caring for the elderly. A little bit about diagnostics, a little bit about behaviors, a little bit about things so that they're better prepared. But in the end, you have an opportunity to make a difference in the life of someone who absolutely deserves it.
And I think another big part of that as well is when you do that in training, that it's at Glendale Gardens especially, we coach. I mean, that's the idea. So it's mentoring and coaching with new employees or somebody who is new to the industry. And the main reason for that is you can come down really hard on somebody and just make their life difficult to a certain degree and say, you've done this wrong, you've done this wrong. But our approach is much more of, we take every experience as a learning experience, and how can we do things better? What approach can we do differently? If there's a correction that needs to be made, we'll make it. But we do it in a very coaching atmosphere to try to encourage everybody to continue to give their input and what value they have to our building.
You know, it's almost what we don't do. Is in this industry, there are challenges. And what we don't do, and the old expression is throwing people under the bus. When we have a situation where, as a team, we have an opportunity to do something different, it's not nursing's fault or it's not dietary's fault, and we don't talk poorly about other people or other departments, we get ourselves together and we figure out, okay, in this situation, what did we do? It didn't work, and we fix it. And we support each other, because nothing will tear down a team quicker than the blame game. And I think that we share full the joy that comes with success, and we also share when we fall short. And we learn together as a team, we fix it as a team, and I think that's really helpful for us. I think that's it's evident at our building that that's the approach that we take.
Absolutely. And I would say to support that, or to enhance or create an atmosphere where teamwork is a major factor, and supporting that from an administrator standpoint, my situation is I have a very strong team and I know it. If an issue comes up or a problem comes up, it doesn't have to be my answer. It doesn't have to be, it's not a one way is the only way situation ever. It's I want input from everybody, and watching if it's a problem that is solved, and I don't only have to touch it, but I watch how it happens, because people have ownership of what we do reflects on all of us. So nobody wants to, as Tim said, we don't want to go a role or try to go away that we think is going to be negative to the building or is going to negatively impact any of our residents in any way we can. In this industry of attempting to do more with less all the time, and whether it's funding that's cut or whether it's staffing shortages, whatever you may be fighting with in the community, at large, our biggest situation is any problem that happens is a team. It's going to be a team that solves it. And having that ownership to make it happen and having the different opinions, to me, always comes to the best resolution, because we can all bring our own perspectives. And as Tim said, a major part of this is, especially at Glendale Gardens, when it is the team that we have that's set up, it's very easy to all celebrate successes. And I can see it when people get really weighed down or feel stress of thinking we fell short somewhere. And then that is my job to then attempt to encourage, and we come together as a team to surround each other and pick each other up so we can continue to move forward. And that is, I think it's a major asset we have in our building, is that everybody understands the team network, and teamwork is the only way we'll succeed. Anybody standing alone and we are going to fail. So we have to come together, and it's evident every day of what happens.
Well, I know I try to affect the care plan by making what I'm trying to accomplish individualized to each resident versus I have an idea and it's going to fit for everyone. And it's a challenge sometimes, is recognizing that there are different people from different backgrounds, even different stages of living in our nursing home. Some have come and don't want to be there right now. So their big issue is adjustment, where other people have recognized I can't and don't want to live alone anymore. I need assistance, and that need and programming need and care planning need is different. And then you have people that still have contributions to give, have some independence, and incorporating, utilizing that talent, where residents are giving to residents, residents are giving to staff. So it's offering uniqueness and individualization to the care plans while trying to incorporate fun and education. And I want them to, the plan of care I'm hoping for everyone is, what do they have in store for me today? Why do I want to get out of bed? Why do I want to get out of this room? What do they have in store for me today? If that's a question that's asked in any format, I'm happy.
Well, the elderly are the same as any of us. We're all individuals who have a very holistic mindset, whether it's spiritual, whether it's your physical existence, whether it's just your needs you have today, of whether the basics of just shelter or food or whatever it may be, and then you get the pleasures of the fun that you want to have in life, whatever your interests happen to be, or whatever your goals are. So it's very natural to not, we've talked a little bit about what traditional used to be, or how the old mindset used to be, or how things used to run. And the biggest thing is now, this is not for our convenience. We're not in a business anymore of residents doing what we need to do out of convenience. They're people, and just like we're people. So it's taking the same aspect I have as an individual and knowing they have the exact same needs. It's not us and them, it's not us and elderly, we're all people. So what do we need, and what fulfills my life is the same experience I need to give and support for somebody else, because I know they need a full life as well, of whatever it may be.
And it ties right into the teamwork approach. I don't think you can have one without the other. I don't think you can be offering a holistic approach and really trying to make that a way of life versus something you put on a brochure and not have a teamwork. I think that they go hand in hand, and when you were talking earlier, what had occurred to me is that we clearly recognize who our customers are. Our residents are customers, our families are customers, and it's not just people with titles that are empowered and encouraged to make decisions. You see a need, act on it. If you don't do, maybe what I would have done, we'll talk about it. But it's utilizing everybody's talents, everybody's abilities, while programmatically doing exactly what you said, is that recognizing that they're no different than we are. And who we are right now, although I'm a little further along than you, that person, those needs that we have right now will still exist, even though our bodies may be changing and breaking down in some ways. That spirit that makes us who we are will still exist. And recognizing that is a critical part of care planning and the care approach to our facility. I think there's no greater indicator to me that the residents are engaged. Now, the other thing too is relationships between residents and residents, because it's a little easier to have relationships between residents and employees. It's like the school teacher dynamic. The kids kind of migrate to the teachers. But when you can get students having relationships with each other, now that teacher has accomplished something. And I think the same thing exists for our residents. When they start having friendships and relationships and getting together outside of activity programs and visiting with each other and doing things, those to me are two major indicators from that we're doing something right.
What's interesting to me is there are people that have a mindset, or that they think that whatever disease or whatever somebody's dealing with, whatever deficit it may be, or if our body fails and you're just not able to communicate the same way, or whatever is happening, but like Tim has said, your feelings are still there, who you are is still inside. And to see somebody light up and that smiles and is enjoying something, especially those folks, when we were talking about care planning, and Tim brought up it's a challenge at times, some people don't want to be there. Some of the most gratification that I get as an administrator, or satisfaction, is seeing somebody or bringing somebody in who I know up front is going to be a challenge, who doesn't want to be there, and kind of saying, this is the place you need to be then. Come to us, and this team, including the whole building, I'm not saying just a department head team, I know this team at Glendale Gardens will do everything they can to help you deal with whatever you're dealing with, what you're going through in life, at the same time enriching your life, and then opening back up and realizing life's not over. We have a lot to offer. We know you have a lot to offer. And so watching them smile, or those folks go from being upset to being in a place that none of us look forward to being in a nursing home. That's none of our goal in life. That's not where you're wanting to go. But when folks come in and you see that they realize as soon as it clicks that they have a lot of life to give and there is value with them, and watching them, as Tim said, engage is a great word, and just seeing their responses and reactions, and knowing that us as adults and as we get older, we still love to have fun. So whether it is a water gun fight, or whether it is bowling, or whether it is just sitting around playing cards or dominoes, or just sitting around and talking to each other, having fun and doing the same things you've done your whole life, shows happiness and satisfaction of where they are.
You know, I think one of the things you'd look for is the cleanliness of the building. You can't underestimate that. And when you walk into Glendale Gardens, you will notice right away that that's a priority. The other issue is looking how the residents are without being involved with an activity. How are they in the common area, or what we call is our atrium? Are they engaging with each other? Are there a lot of families around? Do they participate? I think those are indicators that there's something really special going on. When you walk in and you don't feel a sense of energy, it feels stale, it feels institutional, it feels boring. That's a feeling you get. So many times people come into our building, whether they're there to help us provide an activity, whether they're visiting, and say, when you come in here, there's something you can feel that is special. And it's not furniture, it's not new paint, it's the interaction with our residents. And I think that's one of the things that you look for, is that type of environment.
I think that's key. And also something back we went to before, if you see employees who are, you can see this on tours, that are compassionate, that are empathetic, that you know they're not putting on a show. And by going through a tour a lot, and if you come through a building, it's hard to just put on a show for somebody who's coming through to look, because it's a difficult thing to do, to get all these people to act a certain way if it's not how they normally act. So if you go through the building, and like Tim said, if you see families that come that are involved, you see residents that are involved, just talking with each other, having a good time, you see staff stopping, they're not just walking down a hall to walk down a hall. If somebody has a need, they're going to stop, or they just smile and say hi. I mean, that's huge too, and it's not something that happens typically in every single building that's out there. And in our building, like Tim said, if there is an event going on, and even if there's not an event going on, I feel very confident as an administrator that you're going to feel welcome, and you are going to feel, just get that feeling of this is a warm place where people care. And we're not perfect, We will never be perfect. I don't know of any nursing home, any facility, any community that is perfect, because we are people working with people.
In an ideal world, how people would view nursing homes would be, don't go by what you've heard, don't go by what you think it is, get yourself in and see it for yourself. Because there are still stereotypes that exist regarding nursing homes. A dark, dingy place where people go to die. Well, if you're not beyond that by now, you're probably not in business now. So I think that people need to go out and see it for themselves and form their own opinion. The thing that will last with me for a long time is two things that were said to me. And more than one resident have alluded to, you know, when I came here, I thought I was coming here to die. Little did I know, I was coming here to live. I'm doing things that I had never done in my whole life. And having a family member come to me or another person that works at the facility and say, thanks for giving mom back to me. Thanks for giving dad back to me. Thank you for making them happy. I haven't seen them express this kind of happiness or joy or satisfaction or contentment. I think that anybody that has a preconception about nursing homes will be turned on their ear if they come into our building. Because it is so different than what the stereotypical misconception is about nursing home care.
I agree. An ideal vision of what nursing homes are, or what people can think of them are, I would simply say, in general, that it's a place where people are going to be honored. I want my focus mainly, and the whole reason I really got into this industry, is my heart with the elderly, if we want to put a name on it, but just our folks that have been through life. They all have an experience to share, all things that we can learn from. Everybody has a story, and that's what I love about it. So being able to know, and I want people to have that, just that feeling of what a nursing home, in my view, of what an ideal nursing home is showing that somebody is going to be honored for the life they lived. And at this point in life, we are there to help to continue to support living life, and looking forward to the story that that person has to share with us. And I love learning. So I love learning stories. I love learning things that I can apply to my life just through wisdom that people have. And so the ideal situation of a nursing home is it's like Tim said, it's not a place where you go to die. It's not a dingy place. It's a place where people will be honored and are going to continue to live. And I hope, or my hope is, that it is a place that everybody, if you work there, you're a visitor, you're a family, or if you are the resident, it's a place that we come together and can just love and share life together, is what it is. And it's fun. It's just fun. It's a fun place.
And the other thing, too, is that a place that interacts with the community. The community is actively involved in the nursing home. And we are actively involved in the community. Because, you know, again, another stereotype is when a person is retired, they lose their purpose. When they go into a nursing home, now they have no purpose. And we have found that to be completely not accurate. And the story that warms my heart is we learned that one of our schools on the north side of town had a program, and they still do, that were to make sure that the kids had enough to eat over the weekend. They were sent home with peanut butter and jelly and supplies, so they would have some kind of nutrition. Well, the school was going to run short, and the school year had another couple of months left. And somehow our residents found out about it and wanted to collect money, and the long story short is they took one of their most beloved programs, took the money that was going to be used on that for the resources, and we went to the store, purchased the ingredients that they needed, and myself and a few other people on the team went to the school and presented them those supplies. And the response and the reaction was really great, because you knew they were surprised to see some people in wheelchairs and walkers coming up to give, not to receive, but to give. And I think that's part of the ideal nursing home, is that it's an active part of the community. We use community resources, and we're active in the community in a lot of different ways. And I know that we are at Glendale Gardens, but we can always do better. And you had mentioned that we're not perfect. I think that when you believe that you've arrived at perfectness, it's the first day that you're going the wrong direction. Is that you can always find ways not only to be better, but different. This is how we've done it, well, let's try another way. So if there is an ideal nursing home, I think we're working in it.